Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Milwaukee Public Library interviewing candidates in the 2014 elections. We're interviewing Mr. Terry Katsma of Oostburg. He's a Republican candidate in the 26th Assembly District. Terry, welcome back to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to Wisconsin Eye for hosting this.
Thank you. Programming note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. You are a retired banker, sir, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, and that's one of the main reasons why you'd be qualified to vote on a $70 billion all-funds budget in the next session.
That's right.
But let me ask you let me tell you what just happened. They just announced tax collections for the budget year that ended on June 30. We're about $289 million short for the last year. You know how that can multiply. But here's my question. If there is another general fund deficit going into the next biennium, what are your thoughts on how to fix it?
Well, this is just a projection here yet. So all projections are fluid and are subject to change. Right. And so, but we can't spend more than we take in. So we have to have a balanced budget. So if there are things that need to be cut, that's what we have to do.
That's what we have to do. Yeah. Well, some of the biggest ticket items, as you're aware, are K-12 public schools in the next biennium. As you want to be a member of the Assembly.
Yes.
And you want to vote on that next state budget. What would you push for in terms of public schools, sir?
Well, I think schools obviously are very, very critical to our economy. In my life in banking, people move to different locations, companies move and relocate based upon the quality of the schools. So it's critical, it's important that we have high quality schools, and we have that here in Wisconsin. We're second in ACT scores, so I'm very much in favor of that. So the total expenditures in our budget is about $16 billion. We've got about $6.4 billion, or a little less than 40%, that we're currently spending in K through 12 funding. The budget actually went up this year about $300 million in additional spending in K through 12.
Right. But a big part of the debate over schools next session is going to be over the choice versus vouchers.
Yeah.
So it started out just in the city of Milwaukee and Racine. This year it went statewide with an enrollment cap of 1,000, as you know.
Correct.
Where should it go in the next state budget?
I'm in favor of releasing or expanding that enrollment cap. Okay. I think that parents are best qualified to make decisions on what's in the best interest of their children. Children learn differently and in different environments, and I think the parents are best to achieve that. And the budget right now that's identified for school choice is about $212 million, and that's really only about 1.3% of that total budget. So,
Speaker Voss has said he wants the 1,000 cap outstate to be totally removed next session. Do you agree with that?
I would support that. There's the demand for students in those districts exceeds the cap. So currently there is demand there, and I would support that. And again, because I think parents are best to make those decisions.
Recently, as you know, Governor Walker asked for the Senate and the Assembly to withdraw or repeal the Common Core educational standards. Your position on that, sir?
That's one of the biggest questions, one of the biggest issues I get when I'm doing the thousands of doors that I'm doing is, where do I stand on Common Core? And so I've taken the time to print out the standards, the Common Core state standards. There's 73 pages of English standards. I've scanned those. There's 93 pages of mathematics standards. Yes. And so, but I think that Wisconsin, we need to maintain high standards, and so we need to work on that and promote that. But I think that I support the governor that we take a step back and we review these things. Folks that are opposed to standards, I'm asking them, well, tell me where in these 93 pages, what do you oppose? And so I'm studying that issue.
As you talk to your local school districts and administrators and teachers, What do they say about Common Core?
They've certainly been working on this for the last couple of years, clearly, and there's federal dollars that have tied to that. Some teachers have some resistance to the top-down, the federal standards coming down. They feel that they're best qualified in the local districts to make those decisions. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 points of view on that, and trying to reach a compromise on that.
Transportation spending. Yeah. The Wisconsin Taxpayer Alliance, which is a nonprofit watcher of state spending, says if we spend at the 2013 level on transportation for the next 10 years, we'll have a $2 billion deficit. Do you think we'll have a deficit, and if so, how should it be fixed?
Well, transportation is a key factor in the state of Wisconsin. We got to have good roads for industry and commerce. We got to have good roads for agriculture and for tourism, and we have that now. To project out 10 years again is very, very difficult to do something like that. But I think all things need to be on the table. Our gas tax, we used to have that indexed to inflation, and I agree with the idea that we don't do that anymore, because it's very easy for legislators to put something on cruise control and then taxes just go up, but they've capped that out. I think it's a little under 40 cents a gallon right now, which is the highest in the Midwest, and so we still have a problem with our gas tax. Our license fees of $75, that has remained stable for a while. There's talk of toll roads, and I have my little iPass thing in my mirror, because we have one child who lives in Illinois, so it works pretty slick, but there's problems and there's issues with using some of those federal highways towards tolls, but all things got to be on the table. That's right.
Everything. So you'd consider the gas tax increase?
I'm real opposed to increased taxes. Okay. Now, when it comes to user fees, one thing that's being talked about is having a fee based on the number of miles you drive.
Vehicle miles traveled.
Obviously, because of our better fuel efficiencies and such, we've reduced the amount of gas that we use.
Yes.
There's concerns, of course, with privacy with that, if we can overcome that. But again, all things got to be on the table.
But bottom line, we have to find more money to head off this potential transportation deficit?
That's correct. That's correct. I certainly oppose the rating of funds, which was done in previous administrations. I think to a certain extent, rates are low right now. We're spending a lot of money on roads, big ticket items. Some of this could be bonded, some of this could be borrowed, and to lock in on these rates. But we got to be very careful that we don't borrow and to cover our operating deficits.
A question on health care. 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents, as you know, get their health care through our Medicaid program.
Right.
American Hospital Association says our Medicaid reimbursement rates are the second lowest in the nation. If you've studied this issue, should they be raised?
I'm not aware of that study that says that we are number 2 in the nation, or second lowest. But clearly, we the state spend about 15% of our budget is related to MA medical assistance programs, and as you well stated, 1 in 5 folks are covered under medical assistance. So that's causing a problem to the hospitals, because they're having to write off things, and which is causing a loss for them. It's causing the rest of the taxpayers with traditional insurance programs to increase their costs. So this is something that needs attention.
The larger issue, though, is the federal government told every state, if you expand your MA benefits, we'll pay for it. Governor Walker and the leaders in the Senate and the Assembly said thanks, but no thanks. Do you think that was a wise decision?
I think it was a wise decision, yes. Yeah. I think to rely on the federal government keeping some of their promises is questionable.
There was a bill introduced last session. It'll be reintroduced this session to legalize medical marijuana. Now, this travels, of course, with the issues Colorado, state of Washington, legalize recreational marijuana. Right. Your position on those?
I think there's now 23 states, I believe, if I studied that correctly, that have legalized marijuana. Right. If I talk with my local
just in the medical context.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, in the medical context,
yeah.
Correct. And my first thought on that would be, I think there's enough legal drugs that I don't believe that we need to have medical marijuana that's not FDA approved. I would certainly want to consult with my local drug folks and local law enforcement. I think marijuana can be a gateway to more legal or more lethal and addicting drugs.
One of the first bills that passed last session changed the laws so that Giebig Taconite could seek a permit for that open pit iron mine in Ashland and Iron counties. Would you have voted for that, Terry?
Yeah, mining is a critical issue and critical industry in the state of Wisconsin. The state flag, which is behind me, has two figures on there. One is the sailor, one is a miner. Mm-hmm. Mining has a long tradition in the state of Wisconsin. And and there's major companies here in Milwaukee that produce mining equipment, and so mining is an industry that we need to support. I believe when that mine would open up, that would equate to about 5,700 jobs and have a $1.2 billion impact on the economy. I do think that there's enough safeguards that are in place to safeguard our safe water and safe air, and so yes, I would be in support of that.
Another mining issue that has just exploded in Wisconsin, in western Wisconsin, is frac sand mining. There seems to be a debate in the Capitol between those that would set statewide standards and local governments couldn't exceed that, and those that believe local governments should be the ultimate judge of frac sand minings and how they operate.
Right.
Where do you come down on that continuum?
I think there's all kinds of issues that we can look at that say, should the state decide or should local governments decide? In general, my bent would be toward local government, local control. They can best decide what's best in Eau Claire, not Madison.
Okay. It was an issue in the primary for Attorney General. First offense, drunken driving. Should it be a crime?
Well, yeah, that's I'm really want to do whatever is possible to minimize and lower drunk driving. There's been a lot of reductions in the last decade on crashes due to alcohol. Fatalities, however, have remained about the same. I thought it was interesting today on my way down here on the DOT flashing sign. There was a message that talked about drunk driving. And so DOT is getting the message out there. The Tavern League has a safe driver program to encourage folks not to drive drunk. So I want to do whatever's possible to minimize drunk driving.
Finally, I want to give you a chance to highlight any differences between you and your opponent in the November 4 election.
Sure. One thing that I've learned doing doors is people are concerned about the partisanship and the bickering that seems to be going on in Madison, certainly on a nationwide, but in Madison as well. And they're saying, well, what am I going to do about it, or what can I do about it? Well, I'm only one of 99 assemblymen, but my background in banking is to negotiate and to try to get along with people. And so I think that I can bring that skill, and I can bring that to the table. The other thing is my level of expertise in finances. I've ran a community bank, responsible for a $180 million community bank with 10,000 customers, strategic planning, and dealing with the regulators and dealing with the staff and the employees. So I'm able to make the tough decisions, to do the tough analysis. This is a complex budget that we have. We need folks there that are willing to ask the tough questions and to do the right analysis.
Thank you. Terry Katsma of Oostburg is the Republican candidate in the 26th Assembly District. The election is November 4. Terry, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.